Y'all are literally balanced on a box on my computer, and because I'm just too lazy to go get my tripod, so that's what we're doing. Anyway, I want to talk about witchcraft on the fringes. Actually, this is going to drive me a little bit crazy, so you have to move me back just a bit so I don't have to crop my face all the time. Witchcraft on the fringes. Does it need to be on the fringes? Is this a thing that is just natural within the craft? Now, witchcraft in general, a lot of people say that there's, you know, even a specific type of witch called the hedge witch, which is a person who deals with, like, I believe it's like the veil and the in-betweens and the stuff on the edges at all the times, because the hedge was like the edge of someone's, right? So head witch means that you're the person who's dealing with the in-between spaces, the outdoor spaces, the outside spaces that people don't normally explore. And I think witchcraft in general kind of lends itself to being on quote-unquote the outside or the cutting edge in some respects. In other respects it doesn't. I think there's some ways where maybe as a community, and also as myself as a witch, realizing that being on the outside isn't necessarily a thing that should be strived for in some senses, right? Because in society as a whole, depending on where you live, witchcraft has been kind of attacked, and or we're a minority in a lot of places and spaces, and specifically in America too, because that's where my experience is. America is very much Christian-centric, so if witchcraft is on the outside, that means that there's a lot of things that we naturally just don't get. I've talked about before how, I mentioned in one of my lives, saying that, there you go, cat butt, yes, I see you. Witchcraft in general, anyway, back in the olden times, in the South, now even, and a lot of other ways, witchcraft has always been on the sidelines because, you know, part of being in America is the fact that there is a puritanical Christian foundation basis that's kind of along with everything here. And that is because most of the people that came over and decided to take the land from the Native Americans and build a society, and so it's kind of ingrained to it. So having witchcraft always on the outside and not always as high of a population, or not so mainstream. Like, things become mainstream when more and more people like the thing, right? And so since it was always pushed to the sidelines, it was a way to used to come over, like people who come in with the pagans and all these things that they deemed witchcraft, which is just different types of religions and different ritual spaces, you know, because like Catholics and Christians did rituals too, but it's a different type of ritual. It's not their ritual, so it's wrong. Devil, like, yeah. The whole, like, it's on the outskirts just because so many people came in and then either converted somebody and or it, like, it used to be the norm way back in the day, right? Like, in a lot of cultures, certain things that people would consider witchcraft are actually the norm. They're not something to be ostracized or weird. It's like, yeah, no, everyone knows someone who does the thing. And so as there's more of us as it grows in popularity, as more people discover it and deep dive into it and do and fall on different alternative spiritual paths and then interweave witchcraft into them, I think that's something that is a lot of good. It's a lot of benefit, because that means that a larger population will just have more rights. People won't be harassed. You know, there'll be less and less people who might lose jobs or like might end relationships. You know, just life gets so much easier for witches and people of a certain faith group, the more, and a certain lifestyle, because I believe witchcraft does align a little bit more with, say, a lifestyle, not in like the shallow version of it, but in like a, you know, this thing that we do kind of interweaves into so many different aspects of our lives. It's not necessarily something to compartmentalize that just lives over here and doesn't intersect anything else. Like, witchcraft affects how I think about things, at least. That's my opinion. So it's better if there's more people who live this way. There's more people who understand that the pentacle versus the pentagram and the different meanings, and like understands the different sigils and stuff aren't actually demonic, and then we're not all selling our souls to the devil and like being all Satanists or whatever. Like, people who, the more witches there are, the more people realize that there's a lot of things that are just kind of stereotypical, a lot of things that are just, you know, no, there's like a variety of people who do this, and, you know, less stereotypes in general about witches. Like, it helps if we are more mainstream, if we're not on the edge. But on the other side of this idea of witchcraft being on the edge, do not drink my water. Hi. Yeah, you need help down? There. When it comes to witchcraft being on the edge, though, it's kind of interesting because so many other religious faiths and lifestyles and things that I've been poking into, there are very, very few that really encourage a constant pursuit of information, right? There's something about the occult and witchcraft and all of this. It is a thirst for knowledge and for research, and specifically for a thirst of knowledge and research based on the individual. It's based on us pursuing things that interest us and could lead to enlightenment or more power, or like, you know, things of this nature. It is a constant pursuit of knowledge that seems to be really held up on a pedestal when it comes to witchcraft, the occult, paganism, all of this stuff. It's very rare, I think, that within a culture or a group as a whole, that there is this idea of looking into different topics all the time and constantly searching for knowledge. And people who are constantly searching and looking and exploring things all the time, especially people who are doing it, I think, on a self basis as well as an outside basis, which from my experience, at least a lot of different witches and pagans and people of alternative spiritual paths and within the occult do. Like, we're constantly kind of searching and seeing what will make things better. There's the rest of the population who is content with their lives, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that just means that you're not curious in some ways, right? Like, I also think you can be content and also like curious and advancing yourself while also being content with who you are. So, like, it's not a contradiction, but if you're overall like, yeah, I know, I'm cool, like not questioning how your brain works, not questioning how the universe works, not questioning if you can play with things and manipulate stuff and draw stuff to you and use the energies and see what you can come up with, then if you're kind of just like not doing those things and you're just stagnant, then yeah, you can get into a repetitive nature, a cycle of not exploring. And I think it just is normal for people within this type of interest group, witchcraft, pagan, all that stuff, to be explorers. Which, if you're exploring constantly, of course you're going to be constantly discovering new things and on the edge, because we're just not content where we are. We always want more knowledge. We always are seeking, whether that's inner knowledge from our own experience and our own stuff with, or like looking at what other people think about herbs and tarot, and, you know, reaching across veils and like looking into different sciences and how does that apply to witchcraft, and is it something that's provable? Does it ever need to be proved? Is it okay just to have it as the unknown? Like, there's all these questions, and people are always thinking of so many of these questions. And the more you question, the more on the forefront of society you will be, because you're constantly pushing and growing and changing. It's interesting to me that some people would say that it's so good for witchcraft to always be on the edge. And so I wonder if, like, well, what happens if there's a huge shift and say the amount of Christians that are currently in the United States are, you know, in the next 50 years or 100 years or however many down the line, all, you know, switch over to some alternative spirituality, or really get into the occult, really get into whatever, or don't even really just get into a different spirituality, but what if they just adopt witchcraft as something that they do all the time? If more and more people start exploring witchcraft as an option, and they become like the majority of the population in a country, are we really on the edges anymore? But if everyone's like still pursuing a solitary-esque or very individualized path, then can we even really group ourselves wholly together, or are we all just going to be kind of like all reaching out, like just one giant mass in the middle, like reaching out and constantly like on the edge and on the inside at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, I find it interesting because I think we naturally, as a group of people, one of the things, our pursuit of knowledge is naturally going to put us on the cutting edge of society in a lot of ways, on being the outcasts and the outsiders, because we don't just accept things as they are. We question all the time. We are kind of always asking why and looking past things. And even if some people might say, well, that's not proven or not believed or whatever, we all take it in and go, it doesn't matter if it's proven or believed by the masses or not. It matters if I can poke at it. Can I ask the question? Can I explore it by myself and see what I can come up with it? So I don't know, what are your thoughts about witchcraft having to constantly be on the edge or constantly not being on the edge? I think it's like a weird balancing act. I think part of the reason so many people come to witchcraft is because they're the naturally curious minds of society, and so we're going to be maybe the people pushing society forward in a lot of ways. But in other ways, I think it's a really great thing if we do become more mainstream, because it opens up so many more possibilities and can really improve the quality of life of a lot of witches and pagans and, you know, Wiccans, like whatever, occultists, what have you. It will greatly improve their quality of life, because then they won't have to worry about things like the broom closet or anything else, because it'll be just naturally accepted as one of the things that you could be within society. But anyway, leave all your comments and thoughts about that stuff down below. This is part of Youtober, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Yeah. Bye.